Good evening. Welcome to the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Well, we see yesterday we did accomplish the Electoral College. We have our new Vice President-elect, Joe Biden. What can I say? You win some, you lose some. This is just the way it is here in America. Of course, we all know that there was some funny going on, but that's beside the point. We also know that our President Donald J. Trump, did accomplish a lot during his term. Now, the problem that I have with the whole thing, and this is something that I knew even from the very beginning, a lot of times as a Christian, since we're here on CTM, we have to be careful sometimes what we say. Because in the very beginning, if some of you remember, I remember this saying President Trump said in the very beginning. So we got to be careful sometimes what we speak. Because in the beginning, he said he was just going to be there for one term. He said, I only perceive I'm going to be a one-term president. This is what he said himself coming in. Well, of course, the Democrats didn't want him in the first place. So they attacked him for years and years and years, until the end of his term, which will be on January 20th as they inaugurate new President Joe Biden. I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I congratulate Joe Biden on his election, that he was placed into office. I'm not saying the election was perfect, because I don't believe it was. I'm not saying that there wasn't some strange going-ons in the election, but hey, if Congress says you're in and the Senate says you're in, well, what can we do about it? The only thing I'm here to do is present truth to you in reporting, at least the best I can do as an independent opinion host, Black Conservative Voice. Well, I remember many years ago, there was a story told me. Some of you may have heard this story. Don't get on me if I tell the story wrong, but I'm gonna do it anyway. There was a rattlesnake, and he was trying to get across to the other side of the river, and he needed to get across. He couldn't swim across, so he asked an animal, let's say a deer, if he could get across. And the deer said, "Well, no, if I take you across, you're gonna bite me." And so he just kept asking, and then he finally said, "Okay, I'll go ahead and take you. Just hop on my back." So the deer, they walking across, a horse, whatever animal you want to use, they're walking across, and halfway through, they bit him in the back. Welcome to the Republican Party. Unfortunately, it's like anything else. The Republican Party, and if you don't remember this, I remember in the very beginning, back in 2016, they laughed at Donald Trump. They didn't really want to support him then. But when they saw everybody behind him, what could they do? The American people was behind President Donald J. Trump. They wanted a change. He went in there to clean the swamp, but his cleaning wasn't done, but he was supposed to begin certain things. But as I said, God sets up leaders and he takes down leaders. Not saying he took President Trump down, but President Trump served his time according to God's will. This is the way the world is. We think we're in charge, but we're not in charge. God is in charge. He sets the kings up and he takes them down. He decides that this one lives and that one dies. So, as you see, even some of the people that we've lost, even in the days recently, the new congressman who passed away, with some other people in Congress who passed away. So God controls the light switch. It's his life which we live by. So we don't need to get upset about this election and all these things that happen. We just need to, we have no choice but to accept it and move forward. But we do need to defend our rights as the American people. Our First Amendment rights, which is the right to have free speech, and our Second Amendment right is the right to keep and bear arms. These are two very important rights for our protection here as American citizens. Now, let me point something out before all of y'all go out there, because there's two things I want to point out. One thing I want to point out, I did. I watched a report, which the mainstream media will not put this stuff on. They keep it hidden from you. And if you're foolish, you won't pay attention to the conservative reporters and people who are reporting, like Newsmax. People are reporting the truth of what is going on. As they said in this video that they took, and they keep showing the video over and over again, they told us, when I received this report, now some of you may not have seen it, you can believe it if you want, but some of the same people that were with Antifa and BLM were in the front of those crowds busting in those windows. The same people destroyed your jobs and your businesses in all these cities across America are some of the same people that broke into the Capitol wearing Trump attire. You know, remember, the enemy comes disguised as an angel of light. I'm not saying that Trump supporters are angels, but I'm just saying he comes as an angel disguised as an angel of light. So we think that these people can't infiltrate a 700,000 member crowd. There was only a few people that were breaking into the Capitol and up near the windows. Do you really believe that those are Trump supporters? No. They never behaved like that in other rallies, and I doubt that they did this time, regardless of whether Trump was elected or not elected, whatever. You watch the tapes, they said that they looked at these tapes and they saw some of the same people that were in the BLM riots and Antifa riots over this country. But let me tell you something. I keep hearing the mainstream media calling Donald J. Trump an insurrectionist. Let me tell you something. For those of you out here who are Christian, who know something about your Bible, there was one other person I know that was called an insurrectionist. What is his name? His name is Jesus. I'm not saying Donald Trump is Jesus. What I'm saying is Jesus was called an insurrectionist too, but he came because he came with a new way. He came with a new plan. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. They didn't want to believe that. They wanted to kill him. And guess what? They did crucify him. But he died for your sins and my sins. When we stand up and lie and tell the American people lies, Jesus died for those sins. But I'm going to tell you this, mainstream media and all those you out here are reporting falsehoods, lying on our president, lying about these things that are going on over this election process. God sees. He sees what's going on. But there's one other thing. God forgives. That's something we forget a lot of times because we have our ways. We want to destroy it. We want to do this. But God forgives. He forgives. But the key is you have to receive his forgiveness. If you don't receive his forgiveness, then it's on you. Because mainstream media, those of you out there who know that you lied to the public, you need to either come clean or you need to get on your knees and pray and ask the Lord Jesus to forgive you of your sin. Because God knows you can hide nothing from God. Nothing at all. You can't hide the fact that you continue to lie. You continue to keep things covered up from the American people. Like the fact that this thing that was going on with Mr. Biden and his family. Everybody hid that. If it was President Trump and they had got this information back when he was coming up for election, I guarantee you he would have never made it in there. They would have had him arrested, put in jail and everything else before he even got a chance to run for president. They would have arrested him for treason, which they should well have those other ones that I mentioned earlier if they were doing what is right for the American people, or at least giving the American people the opportunity to make their decision based on all the facts, not just a little bit of the facts, which is exactly what they did, and they did it after the election. Mr. Barr didn't even tell the American people about the investigation till after the election. Pfizer didn't release the vaccine till after the election. You really believe that this is some kind of, some kind of coincidence? It's not. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly that they were trying to corrupt this whole election process. All I can say is if this election process is not allowed to be reviewed and went over in this country, which I doubt it will now because the Democrats are in power for this minute, for the next 4 years. In the Senate, in the House for the next 2 years, but you better get them out of the House, and hopefully in 4 years we can get them out of the Senate. It's going to be a fight, people. Those of you who are conservatives, who have conservative views. I'm not saying everybody's Republican, but there's other people who have voted for President Donald J. Trump that were not necessarily conservative. There were liberals who voted for him as well, and those who had the same opinion as he had. Let me tell you something. The reason why Donald Trump was so popular, everybody wondered about that, is because he was one of the people. I told y'all about that before. He was a people. That's the reason I respected him. He's a lot like me. You see me sometime. I'm very passionate about bringing my message across. And so is President Donald J. Trump, and so are many of you. But we get into these things where I'm this and I'm that. I'm better than you because I am part of the government that you elected. You elected these people into office. They treat you like crap. They don't give you money when they're getting money. Did anybody notice this? Did anybody even say anything about the fact that they're denying the American people this $2,000? There's nothing. You know, they go on a couple of days, a few months. Maybe a few months. For some people, they can save it. For those people who lost their business, they're just kind of trying to catch up. But what I'm saying to you, did you notice they funded the government payroll? What happened with that? Oh, the government got funded, no problem at all. And I can guarantee you it's much more than the money that we were going to get as the American people. Yet they funded it with no problem. They whined about the deficit when it came to the American people, but they funded themselves with no problem whatsoever. When are we really? The reason why people are so upset, if you want to know why, and they're not doing violence, what you're seeing out there is Antifa implants and BLM implants. I don't care what nobody says. Look at the videos. Start checking the videos. Start comparing them to the Antifa riots. You'll see that these people were prepared. They came with stuff just like they did when the riots in the cities. They came. They knew what they were doing because they wore Trump attire because the Democrats wanted to accuse President Trump of causing these riots. He didn't do it. He just expressed his point. He's not holding people's hand, bring them to the Capitol, and tell them to tear down the Capitol. He's not doing that. Nor were the protesters that they were trying to say. The protesters were peaceful protesters. The ones that were out in front, President Trump, just to let you know as well, a lot of them have been identified as Antifa members. They're talking about finding the ones who did it. They keep the camera on. They're going to realize that they've seen it before. And why is the mainstream media all of a sudden talking about this riot that happened in the Capitol? Oh, it's such a thing. Donald Trump has become an insurrectionist. Well, why would he not say much about the Antifa and BLM riots? Why did Joe Biden stay quiet? Why did the Democrat Party say nothing about that? It's because they were behind it. They can say whatever they want. They were behind all this garbage. So anyway, moving on. We need to move forward, most definitely. But I'm going to tell you, as long as they allow me to be, I am going to be a voice for the people and a conservative voice for the people, coming after every little policy they put up that is against conservative values, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You have Kamala Harris, who is now our vice president-elect, talking about how she's going to increase and make it easier for women to kill babies. Yet those of Democrats just get behind them. I'm going to tell you, people that are informed, and those who are not informed are refusing to be informed. And I'm not going to get on you because I know in life this is the way it is. The way it is, and I've said this before, judge not lest you be judged, condemn not lest you be condemned. For the same measure you measure out, it'll be measured back to you. And the reason why I'm saying that is because at one time, I was one of those people who wanted to avoid what was going on in our government. For many years, I avoided and didn't want to get involved This TV station here, CTM News, finally got me to commit to become involved in political reporting. So here I am. I've been encouraged and been told to get involved for years, but I refuse because of my passion for the stance that I have for this government and this country in which I live, for my patriotism, if you will. But I kind of refused for a while because I wanted to sit back and just enjoy life and not have to get involved with all the nastiness of Washington, all the corruption that is there, has been there for years, and is still there. When you tell people they can't come into a Capitol, which they're pretty much, they're the ones who elected you. Why were we not allowed to come into the meetings? Why was that not allowed? I ask you that question. Because just like anything else, you can be told what not to disrupt or whatever. They don't. If you disrupt, you can be taken out. But you should be allowed to come in even on those electoral college meetings. Why not? These are the American people. So anyway, well, that's my beef with the government. But moving on, we're going to go ahead and take a break right now. You're watching The Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. You're watching The Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Now, as I said earlier, I alluded to the fact that I'm a conservative reporter and hopefully I will get a chance to remain. Because under these administrations and under the Democrat Party, they do not like opposing voices. They don't like it. Even in Congress and the Senate, if you oppose the Democrat and their direction that they're going in, and now since they have the control over the Senate, guess what? You're going to see it a lot more. But I'm not one to cower down. Even if they block me from social media, I will continue. But what I want clear to all those in the social media land, this is a free country. And under the First Amendment, I have the right to free speech. Yet you constantly had them doing this thing with Donald Trump and everything else, trying to block our right for free speech. I don't believe that's something they should continue on. President Trump, I support it because President Trump stood up for what the American people wanted. Now, I realize that the government really don't care what you want. They don't care what the American people want. Matter of fact, some of them hate you. They think you're in the way of what they want to accomplish. Well, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the news. Of course, I want to make a few statements. Of course, they accused the president of putting down Mike Pence, but I'm sure the president and Mike Pence are okay and they worked it all out. Vice President Mike Pence condemned the attack on the Capitol building, calling on the violence and destruction caused by the protesters to stop. On Wednesday, thousands of demonstrators, as we have seen, broke through the police lines to storm the Capitol building. Sounds like something familiar, doesn't it? Sounds like Antifa and BLM. While lawmakers debated the electoral college votes. During the breach, the vice president took to Twitter and said that anyone involved in storming the Capitol building must respect law enforcement and leave. The violence and destruction taking place at the U.S. Capitol must stop, and it must stop now. Anyone involved must respect law enforcement officers and immediately leave the building. Now, President Trump put out a message telling the people to calm down and to leave the Capitol. Now, of course, he did it on social media, and what did they do? They blocked his messages. They blocked his tweets. Why did they block his tweets? Mainstream media, social media, why did you block his tweets? He's telling these people to calm down and to leave. Somebody gave the message. I watched it on video. Somebody gave the message to them, say, hey, President Trump said, let's calm down and just go back home and be at peace. And everybody's coming out here, ministers, all these knuckleheads coming out against President Trump, not paying attention to what's going on in the actual media, what's going on even in the videos that the freaking mainstream media keep repeating over and over again, while the channels that support conservatism have shown a peaceful setting. The people are no longer at the Capitol. So stop airing this video of these same Antifa and BLM members trying to break in the windows at the Capitol. It's a deception, people. What did I tell you? Pence affirmed peaceful protests are the right of every American, but added the attack on our Capitol will not be tolerated. The vice president also asserted those involved in the attack will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Peaceful protest is the right of every American, but this attack on our Capitol will not be tolerated, and those involved will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. It's Mike Pence. President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, also called for peace as protesters stormed the U.S. Capitol. In a tweet, he said the president wants them to express their opinions peacefully to all those patriots challenging the fraudulent election. POTUS wants you to express your opinion peacefully, he said in his tweet. So, we are the law and order party. You are the right side of the law and the History Act with respect for all. This is Rudy Giuliani said, and what did I tell you? BLM and Antifa was involved there. In the videos, some in law enforcement actually saw the same people, compared the videos, and saw some of the same people that were in the BLM and Antifa riots in there trying to break into the Capitol. Up front. They were the ones doing the violent things. And maybe there may have been some white supremacists in there, who knows? But they were all up front trying to break it. You see all the people? To be quite honest, people, if they wanted to get in the Capitol, they could have got in without a problem. There was enough people there to knock the freaking walls down. Let's move on. The former New York City mayor urged President Trump's supporters to act with respect to all, reminding demonstrators they are part of the law and order. Conway called demonstrators breaching the Capitol to end the violence. And in an interview Wednesday, Conway said protesters in front of the Capitol should heed President Trump's advice to go home. Now, they blocked his advice on social media. And what did these people watch? They watched social media. Why did you hide the advice, social media? Why did you hide the president's video? On our channel and on our page, we showed the video of President Trump telling the people to go home and be at peace. She added, anyone who condemned the far-left riots last summer should also condemn the protesters who stormed the Capitol. That's because of the same freaking people doing the violence there that was doing it then, Kellyanne Conway. You may not know it, but they're the same people. They haven't left Washington. They're still there. Meanwhile, protests are erupting in a number of other cities across the nation. Why? According to reports on Wednesday, thousands of demonstrators in Georgia, Michigan, California stormed their state capitol building. Yeah, okay, wonderful. Well, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back at you here on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Okay, let's go on to California. Let's see a little bit about California news. California's 55 electoral votes are being called into question as the fight for the election integrity continues. This was on yesterday's news. But on Monday, several Republican congressional candidates, along with the Election Integrity Project of California, filed a lawsuit against Governor Gavin Newsom and the Secretary of State Alex Padilla. The plaintiffs claim California's elections have been plagued by regulations and unconstitutional executive orders, which cause voting irregularities and manipulation to persist the state's election. The state's election we're talking about. The Election Integrity Project also noted they have been investigating flaws in California election system for 10 years. They maintain that the government officials have refused to correct the situation. Federal government, we have got to do something about this. This has got to stop. Stop acting like it doesn't exist, because even yourselves, even the Democrat Party, for years tried to say that President Trump cheated to get in the White House. So why all of a sudden now they're saying there's no fraud or no problems with the election process? All of a sudden. Well, meanwhile, the organization alleges over 700 affidavits were signed by individuals claiming election codes were violated during the Golden State 2020 elections, which means California election. And some of the allegations, state poll watchers were required to stand far off, which made it difficult for to see the elected officials. Now, this is in Golden State's election, 2020. Additionally, in Ventura County, the Dominion employee was allegedly seen inserting flash drives into a Dominion voting machine as votes were tabulated. He then reportedly inserted the flash drive into his own computer to perform unknown operations. Now, all these things were going on, people, and all of it was being ignored. All of it was going on, and all of it was being ignored, as they do a lot of times when you're dealing with things that nobody wants anybody to find out about. Well, I don't have a whole lot more to say today other than the fact that we're looking forward to the inauguration and all the upcoming events that are going to be taking place in Washington, D.C. We will be reporting on those things and all the stuff that goes on in the House of Representatives, in the U.S. Senate. We'll see what happens. We'll see what direction it goes in. But I'm telling you, people, those of you out here in America who voted for the Democrats, just like when you voted for Barack Obama, some of you that expect Barack Obama to do some of the things he did. Well, look out. We're getting a third Obama administration. But let me tell you one other thing about what I talked about a few programs ago. I believe that President, Vice President, as well, need to have limited terms in the White House. Joe Biden was there for 8 years. He should not be there for 12. But this is the way our system is. If he was in that White House for 8 years, just as President Obama, he needs to not be allowed to go back. He don't need to be back there. To me, that that's corruption within itself. Why are you blocking the president from a third term if you don't block the vice president from a third term? Because pretty much that's what you're doing. If you're electing a vice president to the presidency who has already been in the White House for 8 years, is that really fair to the American people to even allow him to be elected? Well, that's the way I see it. But I will say this. As I told you on my program last night, I'm excited because I know we're going to see a freaking fiasco with the Democrats in charge. We're going to see all kinds of mess going on. Things that are unconstitutional, things outside of the law, all kinds of stuff going on. We saw it already now. We have this thing, I don't know where this parliamentary rule comes up. All of a sudden we hear I'm going to make a parliamentary statement. What did I tell you? The excitement is about to start. And I'm excited to be a part of it. And I hope the social media don't try to cut me off to keep me from speaking my views as an opinion columnist on what is going on in Washington. I don't think they've done it many times in with other conservative viewpoint people, different individuals, because I think pretty much they know that is not right. that is denying people free speech or the right to share their opinions, regardless of whether you agree with them or not. You can put comments in the notes or whatever, but please do not use profanity, as I've seen some do in some of my programs. It's not necessary. And a lot of times when I see profanity, I know we're dealing with liberal radicals. Because as you notice with Antifa and BLM, all they know how to do is curse you out. F this, that, F and this, and F and that. And I hear it all the time. I see it all the time in my comments. Why? Why do you need to use profanity? My mom said, if you're intelligent, you should be able to use the English language to express yourself and not have to use profanity to make your point. Yeah, we get it all the time from the left. Believe it or not, it's true. We get it all the time from the left. And I'll be keeping you American people abreast on what Congress is saying and what the Senate is saying as well. Because a lot of times, they don't like you. They're saying some things about you, and they talk about racist. But I tell you, I still believe that the Democrat Party is a party of racists. They say that systemic racism lives in America, and they're correct. It lives within their party. Somebody is always bringing up race, always bringing up color, all the time, always bringing up status, everything. Oh, those poor people over there. My kids are not like the poor kids, or they're not poor like poor white. I don't know. White kids are not like poor kids. Or, I don't know what former Vice President Biden said, and now President-elect Biden. It makes no difference to me which one it is, because he's still in the Democrat Party, and I still disagree with their views. I disagree with all these different issues that they have going and trying to destroy gender. They don't want you to be classified a man or woman. They want you to say anything about something that's going to classify your sex or your whatever, and they want to stop us from practicing our religious freedom. So, those of you out there, different races, religions, or whatever, good luck. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining us here on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. Hopefully, we'll be right back at you tomorrow evening here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. And I like to say what I always like to say before I end my program. God bless you, God bless America, and God bless the world. Until next time, this is David Colbert on the Black Conservative Voice saying good night and God bless.